It is WTIC. What an exciting day. Probably exciting in a bad way, but maybe in a good way. You never know. We'll see how the fight goes. If there are any Democrats who have a sense of the immorality of just expanding government spending without regard for the impact on the state negatively and for the burden it puts on those who go to work every day. Maybe there are some, but, people aren't necessarily optimistic about that. 860-522-9842. Joining us now is Republican Representative Rob Sampson. He is the head of the Conservative Caucus. And thank you, Rob, for being here once again.
It is always my pleasure, Todd. Glad to join you.
So tell us about the process. It was a long day yesterday, a long day of sitting around not accomplishing anything because it was really just Democrats trying to come to some kind of understanding amongst themselves, wasn't it?
Yes, I believe yesterday was the Speaker of the House trying to put the final strong arm on his members to get them to support a unbelievably terrifying Democratic tax and spend budget that increases the spending in the state of Connecticut $1.7 billion in 18 and $1.8 billion in 19, which I think makes it the second largest tax hike in the history of the state, replacing the other second largest tax hike that the governor did in his second term.
Wow, so it's they must.
In other words,
so Democrats must feel a little deflated over that they didn't get the number one biggest tax increase put together.
Well, they did that in 2011.
I know, but that's a long time ago.
Yes, that's right. And Governor Malloy and friends followed it up in 2013 with the second largest tax hike. But I believe this one surpasses that one, pushes that one down to third. This is a huge increase in spending and taxes. I think that it's being portrayed as a lot of death by 1,000 cuts, but it is in its entirety a huge increase in taxes. The largest part of it is going to be the cuts to municipal aid across the state, which are going to force huge property taxes. The transfer of that pension obligation from the state to the towns also going to translate into a huge property tax increase. And if you figure that they're not even factoring that into their increased spending because they're taking that off their books, you can imagine how much this is actually going to impact the citizens of the state. Because that's not just $1.7 billion in new taxes; it's $1.7 billion plus what your town is going to do to you.
So,
through no fault of their own.
The interesting thing that's going on here, Rob Sampson is our guest. He's a state rep from Wolcott, and he is a conservative, like a real live conservative. There's some people who are conservatives half the time, some people 70% of the time, some people 15%. But you've really earned the title. You're committed to this low budget stuff. So let me tell you, the word I'm hearing from the state capitol now is that Senator Doyle, who is sometimes kind of eclectic about which way he goes on spending issues, is saying that this is too big of a tax hike, and it doesn't sound like he's on board. What's your reaction to that? Does that sound like the kind of thing? Does that sound like the kind of thing that could happen? Is that a realistic rumor?
To be honest with you, I don't know. I've got the Senate video feed on in my office, and Senator Doyle is now finished speaking, and Senator Schlossberg is up. It doesn't surprise me. Senator Doyle is one of the more moderate Democrats, one of the folks you might think has enough sense not to support this travesty of a budget. But I can't imagine why they would bother to run it in the Senate, especially at such an early hour, if they did not have all of the votes on board.
Yeah, it does seem strange. That's what's making me hesitate. You normally, the normal way you do any kind of effective running of meetings of any kind is to have all your dogs in a row. Is that what they're called? Ducks? No, they're ducks. You have all your ducks in a row before you go in there, right? You don't risk embarrassment. Like, what would be the point of all this if Senator Doyle was going to blow it up?
There would be absolutely none between you and me, Todd. I'm as shocked as you are if that was the gist of his conversation on the floor. The House is a little bit different story. I fully expected when they failed yesterday to get their ducks in a row in the House to come back today and run it in the Senate first, maybe to apply even more leverage to the Democrat members of the House of Representatives.
Okay, so the reason
this has gone through the Senate.
the meaning of the Senate going first right now, trying to pass this second biggest tax, the new second biggest tax hike in state history. The purpose of the Senate taking it up first is because the House is the body they're having the more difficulty with, and this is leverage for those wayward representatives to sit there feeling the pressure.
That has been my perception all along, and to this moment, I don't believe they have the votes in the House, regardless of what happens in the Senate. And that's the one thing I'd love for your listeners to know, that is if they live in a democratically controlled state rep district, especially if it's a swing district, they need to get mobilized. They need to contact their legislators and let them know that not only will they oppose them if they support this unbelievable travesty that is being forced on the state of Connecticut, but they will work against people that will support it. I think there is a real chance to stop this.
Rob, hold on. Let us get a little information update here, and we'll talk to you some more. 860-522-9842. We will go to the Farmington Bank Traffic Center and see how things are with Mike Allen. What's the afternoon looking like, Mike?
Well, Todd, we have a bit of volume. It is Friday after all. This traffic report is sponsored by the Big E. Southbound 91's heavy as you move by exit 37. Stop and go to the 84 and a change tight again. 27 and 28, 15 south. Northbound drive, not bad, just a little slow up around exits 33 and 34. Westbound 84 is on the heavy side downtown Hartford. Out to exit 44, easing there, but staying heavy through West Hartford. Eastbound 84, you'll find heavy traffic from Sisson Avenue 46 to the Bulkley Bridge. East of the river, you can plan on slowing some moving through Manchester from 60 to 62 Buckland Hills. Route 2 eastbound's a little slow pushing through East Hartford. A couple of accidents. Route 9 northbound between exits 7 and 8. The right lane is closed as a result of a car fire. And in New Haven, I-91 southbound between exits 4 and 3. 2 left lanes are closed as a result of a 2-vehicle accident. It's time to fly over to the Big E, September 15th through October 1st. Enjoy great food, rides, animals, shopping, and live music, plus a daily circus, parades, and the Avenue of States. Visit thebige.com for details. Traffic and weather together on the 8th, WTIC News Talk 1080.
Oh, sorry. I'm doing the weather. And guess what? It's going to be down in the mid-60s overnight. Tomorrow, partly sunny with perhaps a late afternoon shower, but not likely. High temperatures around 80. This is a really nice pattern, isn't it? Saturday night, back into the mid-60s. Sunday, sun, some clouds, maybe an afternoon shower. High around 80 degrees. And Monday, we're looking for sunshine, more humidity, with high temps in the upper 70s. So that's not too bad, is it? 82 degrees at WTIC. Let's return to Rob Sampson. He is a state rep. He is a Republican. He is a conservative, the head of the conservative caucus, and he's telling us, tell us now why this is such a horrible, you've used rhetoric that is very hard-nosed, so justify and explain why you feel that way about it, Rob.
Well, I don't think it's a secret to anyone who lives in Connecticut, Todd, that we are losing population and we are losing the ability to contain our ability to function as a state, to attract businesses, to keep our residents even here, able to provide for their families. God forbid they want to retire here. The only way we're going to fix that is if we change course and decide that we're going to reduce the burden on our citizens and make Connecticut a more attractive place, both for businesses to operate and for people to stay, raise a family, and retire. And this right here is continuing at, it's like stopping on the gas pedal in the wrong direction. And when they first started proposing budgets for this cycle, I thought that there was a chance that they would at least tap the brakes. But they have not done that. This is stopping on the gas pedal and going even farther, tripling and quadrupling down on the bad policies that have led to the deficits that we have now and the problems that are in front of us.
Well, it also appears that Senator Schlossberg is also going against the budget, if I'm reading my email correctly. So
this is they are considering the Republican alternative at this moment, and I believe that is what you heard from Senator Doyle also. And that's shocking to me. The Republican alternative budget is a budget that contains no increase in spending and therefore no increase in taxes. It does not take away money that is supposed to go to the towns and force them to increase property taxes. It is, I would love for us to stop the car in the middle of the road and turn around and start going the other way. a Republican budget comes close to doing that. It's not as conservative as I would like it to be. I think we need much more drastic cuts to entitlements. But for what it is, there is no comparison. This is at least going to get us back on the right track so that we can start making the changes necessary.
Wait a sec.
Attractive.
So there are 3 senators who are usually vulnerable to being fiscally conservative, 3 Democratic senators. 2 of them have apparently now announced that they're not going to support the Democrats' budget. And that means by definition that they're supporting the Republican alternative?
I doubt that.
Is that what you're saying, Rob?
No, I am not. I doubt that.
Oh, what are you saying then?
I'm not saying anything about what's going to happen, Todd, because I really don't know.
Okay. So what were you just saying about the Republican budget?
I was just saying that the Republican alternative is the right choice. And I'm trying to encourage members of both the House and Senate Democrats to look at it, because just one Democratic senator crossing the aisle to vote for our Republican budget sends that to the House. And just a couple of guys or gals in the Democrat House of Representatives crossing the line can make our budget a reality. The governor said he might veto it, but you know what? I think if it's on his desk, that becomes a great deal of pressure, especially when the citizens of the state have spoken.
All right, Rob, anything else you want us to know? Maybe you'll check back later?
I will just say that listening to your callers earlier, the XL Center $115 million expenditure is in the budget on top of the $40 million that they're going to give to bail out Hartford. And there
so
are
what is that? Explain what that line item is for.
Oh, it is just cash money to be given to the city of Hartford for the purpose of renovating the XL Center, which is in need of repairs and allegedly will become an attraction to the state of Connecticut. But I think it's a waste of money. It's a political boondoggle, and we can't afford it right now.
But I don't recall what was it's been some months since this was discussed. What was that the budget they were originally looking for? This sounds like a smaller one than what they thought was really needed to do what they wanted. Is that right?
I don't remember what the maximum number I've ever heard for giving to Hartford for the XL Center, but $115 million, I think, is a pretty substantial expense.
Yes, especially considering that that Hartford is on the verge of bankruptcy, needs the 40 to stay out, but wanted, I believe, $60 million. So you'd think it would be better to save Hartford than to save the XL, that it would be a higher priority.
Then it's
right?
even more money than the state saves by reducing the property tax credit, which the Democrats have also included in their budget, from $200 to $100. It's a
quite fascinating
amount of money.
Yeah. Okay. Rob, thank you so much. We might get you back on a little later if there's more news that you can shed light on, okay?
I'm always at your service, and thanks for the opportunity, Todd.
All right, that's Representative Rob Sampson from Wolcott. He is a conservative guy, so it's fun to get his perspective because he's very straight and consistent on his values, and a lot of politicians aren't like that, so it's good to get him in there. All right, let's take